And welcome everybody to Fancy Football G. We are live today. Here to talk about your Game Week 12 wildcard and who are the top picks in the midfield that we need to have, as well as a couple of cheapies and as well as some differentials, of course. Let me just sorry about the echo there. Yeah, man. So without further ado, let's get into this. Hope a lot of you will join me in this live. Very different. But yeah, let's get into it. All right, guys. So where do we start? I think we want to start in the same place that we did with the defense. As you can see there, I still haven't labeled it correctly. Let's just do that. Let's say all right. This is what happens when you're used to recording stuff. All right, things just like, yeah, cool. All right, we in this. All right, we're going to talk about the mids. We want to start with the fixtures. We want to see who has the best attacking fixtures, so we can actually talk about those players, those teams. And then what we're going to do is we're going to move on to looking at the player stats to then narrow down really which are the best players. So we can then try and match them up in terms of best players, best informed players who have great fixtures, and then sort of pick our players from there, because essentially that's what we want to do. In my previous video, I spoke about every season there's a battle between form and fixture, and sometimes form is better than fixture, sometimes fixtures are better than form, and sometimes they're in a balance where, the both are working harmony. This beginning of this season, I've learned that form has won it more than fixtures. So a person who's been in form will actually still perform even though their fixtures are bad, and even perform better than somebody whose fixtures are actually good. So yeah, let's take a look at Bournemouth at the top here. This is organized by goals for in this lineup between Game Week 12 and Game Week 19, which is just before January. Let me just move this out the way for you so you can see that properly. Game Week 19. So Bournemouth at the top with the base fixtures. I think a lot of you are already straight away thinking about Semenyo there. They do have some good fixtures. I think, later down 15, they got Ipswich, West Ham, Crystal Palace, Man United, Fulham. They got Wolves in Game Week 13. They got Brighton at home this week and Tottenham at home. So it looks like the tougher fixtures they definitely got at home, and I can totally see that. Evan Olsen also being another option, with Aston Villa laying right behind them as well. And straight away you can already think about that rotation or that combination of Rodgers and Semenyo in the midfield as well. So they got Crystal Palace, they got Chelsea, Brentford, Southampton. Actually really looks like a really good fixture. I think Man City is pretty much maybe toughest there. Newcastle and Brighton roundabout Game Week 17. So I feel like their fixtures between Game Week 12 and 16 are already what's got them up there. Ipswich, of course, we all know have got some good fixtures as well. They also had good fixtures defensively, but not really a team I rate. As you can see, their attack and their defense is 1 star over there. So I'm not sure if this is a true reflection of what we can predict that's what's really gonna happen. I mean, they got Man United first, they got Nottingham Forest. For me, those are tough fixtures. I don't feel like we can even get away with attacking guy like Delap there. There's nobody in their midfield who I would actually look for. Newcastle, their fixtures I actually really like. I think their toughest fixture in this run looks like a Liverpool, and the nice thing at that is that they're at home, and they also have Aston Villa in Game Week 18, and they're at home as well. So straight away there, you can look at players like Bonds if you want to go differential, people like Gordon, of course. And yeah, I guess it's like sort of hoping these guys come into form during this time. I mean, we're not there yet, but of course, Isak has already come into form, so he's a great person looking at him in the strike force. But today we're going to be focusing just on midfield. Hello there in the live chat. If you have something to say, holla at your boy. This is live, absolutely. So welcome. Thank you. If you got any questions, throw it in there. Right underneath there, we got Arsenal. Of course, we're all looking at Bukayo Saka, a great option there. But I think, could we also be looking at maybe other picks like Martin Odegaard, maybe even a Martinelli now? I think Arsenal are going to be coming in firing during this period with all their players back as well. I think we'll see a lot more goals as well. So they are definitely midfield picks that we can get from there as well. Possibly players cheaper than Saka as well. So let me know in the comment section who you think we can go for there besides Saka in the midfield. That's actually a good pick, which nobody's actually talking about. Leicester City, I wouldn't really even consider players from there. Fulham, I think Smith Rowe's there, who's a good option as well. Somebody alerted me in the comments my previous video, there's actually a very good fixture rotation between, I believe it's Fulham. It's not Fulham and Aston Villa, is it? Fulham and Brighton, I believe. Fulham and Brighton. Fulham and Bournemouth. Yeah, if I could remember carefully. But yeah, I think Smith Rowe is definitely an option. He does rotate well with one of the teams. I believe it's Bournemouth. Let me know in the comment section if I'm right there. I can't remember who that was. So Chelsea, no one's talking about Madueke, and we're all talking about Pedro Neto. And I just feel like Pedro Neto, for me, fine. He's been playing his 90 minutes. He's been coming through. But it's like I said, have we been talking about him before? Like, fine, he scored a goal here, assist there. But I don't think that's something he's going to keep up, you know, especially with his injury record. And this period of time, I just feel like he's going to be a player who's prone to rotation, and that's what's been going on in his position as well. So I feel like he's not a differential that is really good to go for. I think if you're going to be in the Chelsea midfield, I think Palmer is definitely a player, as well as Madueke. I don't think you should be looking elsewhere there. And remember, this is a period with high fixtures being played, and I think you need to get players who are definitely going to be nailed on and not prone to rotation too much. So yeah, I think from Chelsea, that's who you're looking at there. Man City, would I stay away from them? I just don't think there's options there in that midfield, in all honesty. Like De Bruyne apparently is back. I can't even remember if he's on international break or not, but I hope not. Foden is at rest, so he's there, but he's just not in form. And what will KDB do to that midfield? I just feel like you need to give him time to come in and actually start getting onto terms with the team and playing as well. I don't think it's a differential you can go to. Too expensive considering the great options that we have for that money as well. So in my opinion, I think in the midfield, there is no options for Man City. And that is just my opinion. Yeah, that is really just my opinion. Wolves is another team that has some great fixtures. I believe Sarabia might be in the midfield there. He could be another option that's very different from the attacking option of Cunha. But for me, I feel like there's just two assets you should be taking from Wolves there, and that's one in the defense, of course, Aït-Nouri, and then as well as Cunha in the attack. I don't see anybody worth remembering. There's not a lot of midfield spots, honestly, guys. Considering that there's like this essential premium three that everybody wants, which is of course Salah, Palmer, and then Saka. And I think for me, Saka then becomes a lot more debatable in terms of like I said, is there somebody cheaper you could be putting in there? Like, for example, the team is way down here, which is Man United. So right now they have two good fixtures, but straight after that, Arsenal, Nottingham Forest, Man City, Bournemouth. Straight after 16, 17, 18, 19 looks a lot better, but they're way down there because of those Arsenal and Nottingham Forest and Man City fixtures. But I feel like Bruno is in form right now, and he's definitely a midfielder that you could be having over Saka. And I feel like in this wildcard period, I think because of the form that Arsenal has had, I would have Bruno over Saka. That's just my opinion right now. yes, Ruben Almiron has come into the picture as well, and you're kind of asking yourself if that's a bit risky. I think if you've already got for Bruno Fernandes, keep him. If you are gonna go for him, you go for him now. I don't think you can go for him later on because the fixtures definitely turn and it's going to be too late by then. I think you better get his returns now. He's returned twice already. He's in form. If he is going to ever return, continue returning, it's definitely in the next 2 games. So keep him. Excuse me. Keep him. And I think my conundrum is when I get to game week 13 and he's still performing. As I mentioned earlier on, fixtures, I've noticed that form is better than fixtures. So players who have been in form are still performing better than players who have a good fixture turn. So for example, like I mentioned in my previous video, I said, I'm one of the guys who took out Wood and put in Calvert-Lewin because I was like, okay, Wood's performing good, but his fixtures are turning and Calvert-Lewin has better fixtures. Yeah, let's just say I got chopped by the wood chopper. I got chopped. So I've just learned, like, I'd rather stick with guys who are in form and they're actually performing. And Bruno right now is actually in form and a good player to actually pick. Going down, still nobody I'll take from Southampton, of course. Everton, no. McNeil, a cheaper option. Yeah, a cheaper option. But, they still got a few games which look good with Bournemouth, Southampton. I think they sort of turn... Fulham now. I think they'll definitely get beat. And then they got Leicester and Crystal Palace. My issue is just that Everton aren't scoring. They can't score. Defensively, they thanks chaps. We all can't wait for the weekend, man. Defensively, they're good. They're okay. They're sound, But in the end of the day, if you're gonna go for a midfield or attacking player, you really need somebody who's gonna be involved in that goal. And I think if I pronounce it wrong, and he looks really great in terms of the eye test, but he's just not doing it in terms of the stats or the game, or should I say, as the FPL assets. And don't even get me started with the Calvert-Lewin. Beto, he's like basically a freaking Duran from Aston Villa. He just comes on and he scores, and you're like, okay, cool. When is this guy ever gonna start? So don't even take a chance on him. Calvert-Lewin is definitely out. I took him out, and I luckily took him out at the right time. So if you're looking at a player from a cheaper player from Everton, firstly, I wouldn't go there. But if you really want a cheapie, I think Dwight McNeil's the best option you can go for there. Further down below that is Brighton. Of course, I think Jorginho Ruta is in the defense. In the midfield. Please, somebody in the comments, let me know. Cat's not on the right page, but he's definitely somebody that you could be looking for. Mitoma as well. I like Mitoma. My thing that I've been trying to decide is who's playing on that other wing, and I just feel like that other wing hasn't been constant, And I feel like Mitoma's the only person that's really performing on the one side, but at the same time, he's not really as involved in the goals as he usually is. So it's kind of hard to go for a midfielder from Brighton because you feel like he's not going to be giving you that much of a return. I feel like Mitoma probably, not last season, I think 2 seasons back, he was definitely worth it, man. Definitely worth it. Right now, I just don't feel like he's giving me the returns, not even in an assist as well. So I don't see anybody there, but let me know in the comment section what you guys think. Do you think there's somebody from Brighton in the midfield that I'm not thinking about who could probably take up a spot there? And then we got Spurs there. Nah. Their fixtures are just not looking good. Playing Man City right now. Yes, Man City is looking vulnerable. Straight after they've got Fulham at home. But after a game like playing Ipswich and losing to them, that's just something you can't, that's type of inconsistency you just cannot bank on, especially during this period where you need players who are going to be not only getting their 90s, but performing in and out. So yeah, that's really my verdict when it comes to that. West Ham. So here's the thing for me with West Ham. I feel like from game week 14, their fixtures start to turn. Game week 14, they got Leicester, Wolves, Bournemouth. Brighton, Southampton, and they play Liverpool, which is like, of course, the one game there where, okay, cool, in that line, that's hard. But I think that's at the point where you can start to consider Bowen, you know, and bear in mind Mbeumo, who's Brighton right after West Ham underneath there. You can see their fixtures turn at that game in 14. So you could be looking to bring in maybe a Kudus, or you could even be bringing in a Bowen at the same time. Besides Mbeumo. So either Kudus if you don't have money for Bowen, for Mbeumo. But I think a Bowen, of course, because I feel like he just has higher XG than Kudus, in my opinion, in the team. You know, I feel like he's just more involved there. And I think that's definitely a swap you could be doing there as well. Yeah, really great swap there. Really, really great swap there. Even from the goalkeeping side as well. And that's why I really went with that pick with Ray and Fabianski. Man United at the bottom. I think we spoke about them. I think we can touch on Garnacho besides Bruno here because he was benched. And now there's going to be a new reign of Ruben Almiron, and I think we need to see, but based off of the type of lineups that we've been seeing in the rumors, as well as who's going to be on the flanks of those 3-4-2-1, it seems like it's going to be more wing backs rather than actual out-and-out wingers. So right now, Garnacho's not looking like a good pick on the wild card. I think the only safe pick when it comes to Man United right there is Bruno. There have been rumors that in that second number 10 role, Ruben Almiron apparently has been mentioning Rashford. So he's an option, but I feel like he's somebody you have to give a game to as well and see really, you know, does he perform in that space, in that pocket? Can he really perform in that pocket? We know Rashford's potential. We've seen him before, but yeah, we'll have to see whether or not he actually performs, because we know down the center he's not been as effective as he has been on the wings, where most of us have preferred him to be on as well. So in the midfield, there really just three people to talk about. Liverpool, the fixtures don't show. The fixture ticket here don't show that they got great fixtures. They got Man City after Southampton and Newcastle, Everton later, Wolves, Tottenham, Leicester, West Ham. So I think it really changes after Game Week 14. I think they've only got two tricky fixtures there, which is the Man City and the Nottingham and the Newcastle. Newcastle away is no joke at all for me. They can definitely win that Man City game considering the form. But I mean, that's just right after a Real Madrid game. So it is going to be tricky, and we'll have to see what type of shape they're in straight after that game as well. Yeah, in terms of players from there, Jota might be back. We'll have to wait until that last minute when the game week starts. I think right now we cannot speak about him as an option, but we have to just wait and see. I also wouldn't pick him for the wild card, in my opinion. I just feel like I don't think he'll start that Game Week 12 game. I think he'll actually be kept for that Real Madrid game. I think that's where he's really being kept for, and I think Darwin Núñez will start that game at Southampton. Yeah. Luis Diaz, I think, is somebody that you could go for. But again, you just don't know whether or not he's going to start or whether or not he's going to... I think he's just showed really great form, and I think he's been shown to be the number one pick there, considering how much Gakpo's the one who's been subbed in. So from that standpoint of view, if there's anyone else besides Salah in that midfield, I'd say it's Luis Diaz second, and then Diogo Jota third. Yeah, Crystal Palace, no options in all honesty. Nottingham Forest, one of the worst fixtures, as you can see, for attack. No options at all. So let's take a look at the stats. What I did is I took firstly the top 10 organized by expected goal involvement, and I noticed that firstly, it's got, of course, the expensive players and then the cheaper players down there. So what I did is I took another shot of another top 10, but that will be between the 3.9 million to 6.5. So let's go through this one firstly, which is more from the 5 million to the 13 million. And of course, we've got Salah at the top there with the high XGI, expected goals. He's had 14 goal involvements right now, with Palmer right behind him there with the next highest XG. And those are the two essential players, I think. If you're not going with Haaland, those are two essential players that I think you can have, who I think will give you peace of mind if you're not having Haaland. There's this fear factor, in all honesty, about not having Haaland. And I put this forward to my brother. I said, look, bro, even me not owning Haaland is really hard. I'm not even going to lie to you. But the way I think I rest is knowing, like, right now, especially in this game week 12, you've got a Haaland against a Tottenham, fine, who hasn't been performing. What would you rather have? A non-performing Haaland with a bad team, like Man City who's performing bad? Or would you rather have Palmer and Salah who are going to be facing the promoted sides? Who would you rather have? I think you would rather have a Palmer and a Salah versus that Haaland who's not in form. So I guess that's where just I am, and I think we all know Haaland can score and he will score, and he has scored. But for that price range, man, the guy needs to be returning, bro. For 15 mil, that guy better at least be scoring 2 goals, you know? Or if he ain't scoring 2 goals, he's got to have a goal and an assist and the bonus points, in my opinion. Because Salah scoring, yeah, man, the guy's basically got a bonus point, you know? So again, that's my verdict when it comes to the Haaland, no Haaland saga, and why I really went without Haaland. And I think why it's just better to go with the Salah and Palmer, who I feel like are the essentials. I'll go as far as saying that those guys are essential in this run. Then we have Mbeumo there next, of course, who's been performing really well. He's got 9 goal involvements there, who's actually number 3 in this, with Saka, who's actually at number 4 when it comes to goal involvements, with 10 goal involvements. But Mbeumo's really done well. I think Saka's been injured, and that's why his predicted XG is lower. And Arsenal as well hasn't necessarily been performing all that perfectly. Then you can see Bruno's there as well. And already you can see that top midfielders really fleshing itself out as to who are the top picks for this game week 12. Brandon Johnson coming in there next, who for me I don't really quite rate. But I mean, Tottenham's attacking numbers look good when it comes to stats. They're just not really putting those attacks away. And Brendan Johnson, of course, has been one who's really been there in terms of goal involvement there. So Kulusevski, not that much. Neither has Madison as well, which is why for me, I never really considered them as a pick as well. I feel like they're more of a rotation risk as well. So I think that just shows to you that if you are thinking of Tottenham, then in the midfield, you shouldn't be thinking about anyone else than Johnson. But just in this game week 12, no, I definitely wouldn't be there. Saka's there right underneath Johnson. I think things are going to turn for Arsenal, guys. In all honesty, I feel like, I just feel like things are really going to turn for them. So I wouldn't go for Saka right now. I think their fixtures really do turn nicely for them round about game week 14. So I think right now you can do with just a Bruno and Mbeumo, who have 2 great fixtures right now. If you're really scraping for money, you remember when you do your wildcard, you don't want to be doing your wildcard to then straight away and go and do a transfer the next season. You want to sort of set up your team so that you can actually go without making a transfer for at least, in my opinion, 2 more game weeks. So you can, and I'm sure you know that by now, when you pull your wildcard off, when you do activate your wildcard, the transfers that you do have in the bank are still with you. So you can still carry them over into the next game week. So I think we can live without Saka for now. Nottingham Forest defensively is no joke. They are going against them. I think game week 13, you can definitely have him. Yeah, West Ham away. Yeah, maybe West Ham. I think maybe West Ham you can bring in, but I think you can live without him for that. I think Mbuemo and Bruno, with the form that they've been in, definitely people that you should just have and hop off maybe around about game week 14 when their fixtures do turn. So I feel like that's when Saka's the best time to bring in Madison over there. Spoke about him when we touched on Brendan Johnson. Gordon, we did touch on him as well. He's XG, they ranking at number 7 at 5.5, very low compared to the top guys there. But not too far off from Semenyo, so clearly he is more favored. I think the funny thing here to notice is that there's no Rodgers here in the top here, so maybe with Semenyo being here as well as Gordon, if you have that money, then maybe Gordon's a player that you could be bringing in if you want to actually save money on Bruno and probably have Gordon and go differential. I think he is a very good differential. My thing is, again, Bruno's in form, so I would just stick to Bruno and wait for Gordon to really just come into that form and the fixtures as well. But in terms of the Semenyo versus Rodgers, I think this says it all, quite frankly. And then Andreas, they're popping in there. Very surprisingly, expecting more Smith Rowe to be in this, but Smith Rowe hasn't necessarily really contributed a lot in the attack. So let's take a look at the bracket of the 6.5 million to 4 million in the midfield and see who really comes in there. So as you can see, it starts with what it ended with, Semenyo at the top, Andreas there, and then Mitoma comes in, still organized by expected goal involvement there, with Mitoma at 4.6, right underneath Andreas. He is 6.4. He dropped. I remember he was at 6.6. I think I shared my view on Mitoma. For me, he's just not the same Mitoma that he was 2 seasons ago, and I feel like for 6.5 million, I would rather be paying for a guy who is actually going to be having a really high goal involvement. And you can see this is in the top 20. He's basically number 13. So for me, nah, I wouldn't necessarily go there. Adama's there, another player who's actually got good goal involvement. And again, I think it's so weird. Like, we all love Smith Rowe. I love Smith Rowe. I'm an Arsenal fan, man. But there's players out there who just have higher expected goal involvement than he does. But I wonder how many goals Smith Rowe has. If you guys know how many goals Smith Rowe has, let me know in the comment section. Over here, I know Andres has got 2 goal involvements, and Adama's got, let me just see here, Adama's got 4 goal involvements. I'm sure Smith Rowe's got more, so I wonder why he's not necessarily popping up here. Yeah, I wonder why he's not popping up here. But for me, I wouldn't be going there. I just feel like there's not enough midfield spots for those guys. Good cheapies, so somebody you can consider if you want to go differential. Then we got Savio there. Yeah, Man City, the team in itself, as I mentioned, guys, I touched on Man City themselves. I just don't feel like there's anybody there in the midfield who's worth putting into your team right now, especially the form that they're in as well. Tavernier coming in at Bournemouth there. I think you'd just rather go for Semenyo, who's 0.2 more. So definitely not even there. Rodgers finally comes in there at 5.4 now, with goal involvement of 4, which is 1.2 less than Semenyo, which is very surprising. Rodgers does have some great fixtures. He's got Crystal Palace now, and I think in game week 14 he's got Brentford, and then game week 15 he's got Southampton, as you can see right below me. These for me are my best fixtures, like the teams who I feel like have the best fixtures, especially like for them as well, in terms of like them and their performance as well. So very different from the fixture ticker that you just saw previously. By the way, guys, if you're loving the content, please really would appreciate it if you guys would hit that like button, as well as subscribe. I am on the road to 500 and really would appreciate that. So yeah, if you may, I really would appreciate that, guys. Yeah, but just continuing with that, got some 2 likes already, so thanks. Some comments as well, really appreciate that. And then just going on for you guys, there's McNeil where I was talking about as well. I think you can see how he's lowered down. This honestly was just for the sake of speaking about some cheaper options which you can bring in. I would still prefer having a Rodgers over a McNeil. I think he's much cheaper. He's in a better team as well, better attacking team. The only thing really is just the fixture congestion there. But I think Rodgers has proven that he is a player that can play week in, week out. I feel like fatigue has slowly crept into Aston Villa though, and maybe that's really why the performance hasn't necessarily been the same. Yeah, it hasn't necessarily been the same, and I think that's why we sort of tapered off of their players. And I feel like in attack, there's only really two players to consider there, which is of course Rodgers and Watkins. But yeah, we're talking about the midfield now. Garnacho, I mentioned earlier, it will be not going to consider. I would still rather consider Emil Smith-Rowe there, but something to note is he has 4 goal involvements there, so I feel like the goals have been spread out very nicely there with Fulham, and maybe that's why Emil Smith-Rowe is not shares, because a lot of the goal involvements have been spread out, and what you really want to do is you want to have somebody like who's a talisman who has that high goal involvement from that team, so that you know that if that team has scored and you are peeping at the notifications, just like that, you know your man is actually going to be on the screen there with an assist or maybe even a goal. Right, that being mentioned, let us take a look at the draft. What we're going to start off with is, I didn't start off by laying out who the defenses I've picked for the actual draft. So we're building up the draft very slow. In the previous video, I did defenders. Now this was midfielders. So just to go over who I pick in my wildcard draft for the defenders. The goalkeepers, I have Raya and Flavianski. And then for the defense, Timber, with the news of Ben White being out until January 2025, I think is going to be a key player, considering the fact that us Arsenal players know that he is #1 pick over, of course, Zinchenko and Tomiyasu, who are on both opposite flanks of the Arsenal team. So Calafiori is also pictured to come back soon, most likely even in this game week 12 or even 13. And I feel like if Calafiori will slot in on that left-hand side and Timber will end up slotting in on the right-hand side of the field, right? So I think Timber 5.5 way into the Arsenal defense is a very nice cheap way. So if you want to take it, I would go for it. A cheaper option there, which I had, was a Lewis Dunk. First name is a Dunk. So I would go for a Dunk there. Kadioglu, an option. But quite frankly, a Brighton defender there is somebody who I'd go for. Dunk, who's nice and cheaper, 4.4. But wait for the news, because he is flagged. See if he is going to be ready to start. I feel like if he is fit to start, he's definitely going to start, someone you can keep in. And I think even though if they do say that he's ready to play, I would still put him in, because you can still play a Nori and you can play a Hall this game week. And you can play those other players and then leave Dunk on your bench to come in game week 13 when he's actually playing against the Southampton, which is a very great fixture for him at home. So then, of course, there I got Konate and Gabriel, sort of like a template there. Quite frankly, I think, again, essential players in your defense, considering that Arsenal and Liverpool have the best defensive record so far. Arsenal just not keeping clean sheets. Bloody hell. But yeah, it is what it is. And then, of course, you got Hall there, who has great fixtures as well. Very nice cheap option as well at 4.4. I saw Burn flagged, but I just feel like everybody on international break just puts a cautionary flag on them, and then come the actual game week, they're like, oh no, it's cool. I just feel like Burn is also another good option, considering I'm not sure how long Botman is out, but I just feel like, of course, once he comes back and you are looking for a bit of a longer run, it is going to be highly congested fixture time. So you do want to have somebody who's really nailed, and Hall is nailed, but you just never know with an injury returning, So Hall first, But if Burn is good and he's okay, I would also go for Burn. I think he does have some attacking prowess when it goes to headering. And then 8 Nori, of course, the left back number 10. So yeah. Now going into the actual midfield reveal. Let us go into that, and well, boom! I think there's absolutely no surprise here. Just going through it from your right-hand side of your screen, we're gonna have Mbeumo there, who's been performing well. I think he just blanked in the previous game week, but he's going to be playing Everton. I think it's a very good game for him. He is flagged at the moment, so I think just keep an eye on him and see, but I think you've got your alternatives there. You can actually have who's this guy? A Gordon there if you want to have a Gordon there. If you want to go straight to Saka and take that risk, rather, you can go straight to Saka if you have that money in the bank. Rodgers there, again, the cheaper player that I feel is just a better option there between the Semenyo and Rodgers. I just feel like his team is better, and Rodgers playing in that number 10 is so key. I feel like Semenyo's more so coming in from the wing, so not that involved in my opinion. But Rodgers has been disappointing in the first start, and I just feel Rodgers is better, guys. That's just me. That's just my opinion. He's been good value for money. He's been in my team as well. So I would rather have Rodgers, in my opinion. And then going for Bruno rather than Saka. And I feel like that's where my team my wild card differs from a lot, is a lot of people have gone for Saka straight away, not wanting to make that substitution later on. So yeah, I just feel like Bruno's been in great form, and he's on penalties. I just feel like he's a cheaper Saka playing more down central. So yeah, I feel like he can return a lot better and a lot more in these next 2 game weeks. And that's why I'm really going for him. I don't think there's much to say really about having Palmer and Salah, but just like Mbeumo, I think need to keep a close ear and eye on Sky Sports and see exactly what the injury is, how bad is it, will he play? I think it is Leicester. I wouldn't be surprised, of course, if he gets rested as well. Even with Mbeumo as well, he's got an easier fixture, which is playing Everton, and Thiago's also mentioned to be back, the signing of the striker. So it might give Mbeumo a rest. We never know. We'll actually have to wait and see. But yeah, for me, that is my wild card. That is my wild card, guys. Thank you so much for joining me on this live. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate all the likes as well. And please let me know in the comments, what do you think so far? Who do you think are the best midfield picks? Who is actually essential? Who are the premiums you would actually go for in that midfield? And if you want to see the best defense picks and how I got to my defenders, then please check out that video over there. And if you want to see when and how I got to dropping Haaland, then you can check out that video over there, which will be down there. So guys, thank you so much, and I will see you in the next video.